Hi, Didi Conn here. And I'm here with Damien and Anne on, you might know her from.
Hello, and welcome back to You Might Know Her From.
With Anne and Damien. Happy 2024.
Happy New Year. We're so happy to be back here with you. If you're new to the show, this is our podcast where we, best friends, longtime collaborators, actress sexuals, come together and we talk about all of the things that we have going on in our lives. We talk about pop culture things that we love and that we hate. And then we interview an actress each and every episode.
So thank you for joining us here. We are in season 5. You know, the strike set us off for a little bit, but we are back with actress interviews. Thank you for being here with us. It was a really interesting January because the Golden Globes were a real return to shit show, but in a different way than I had hoped.
Yeah, I think that we've talked about this, how we're both pretty invested this year.
Yeah,
more than usual.
It's like we're back to 2008, you know,
Totally.
Which is the year that we maybe stopped watching movies that were Oscar bait. And now, for some reason, you and I are both back in separately and now together, I think.
Yes, we saw American Fiction together. My favorite movie of not only, I would say, like this year or like this season, but just like in a long time has been Poor Things, which you have yet to see.
I'm hoping to see it tomorrow. So far, I have seen, okay, let me see if I can recount what I've seen that's the bait-y movies. I haven't seen Maestro yet, which I was hoping to see with you in the theaters, but I think it's come and gone at this point.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to sit down and watch it, and
Maybe tonight.
I think it's a hate watch for me. But I haven't seen Poor Things yet. We saw American Fiction. I saw Priscilla, which I really liked, and I saw Killers of the Flower Moon, which I liked, and
Saltburn.
And I saw Saltburn, and we haven't talked about it yet. Well, no, we did briefly. I saw Saltburn, and I will say that I think it was very watchable, but complete trash. But not trash in a way that I love trash. Like, there's so much trash that I really love, but I will say that, like, for me, I thought it was like hack trash. But I do think, you know, if you can use somebody's Amazon Prime account, you should for sure watch it. But
it's so enjoyable.
It's
but
like a music
also,
video.
Yeah, I think it was very enjoyable, and like I thought Rosamund Pike was. Is that it right?
She's incredible.
Is that Rosamund Pike?
It is Rosamund Pike, but I always am like, is it Imogen Poots?
But also like Rosamund. Who's the old actress who was in Gypsy?
Rosalind Russell.
Oh, Rosalind Russell. Right. That's like my brain was like, no, it's. Yeah.
I think Rosamund Pike is excellent. She's so good. She gets the best lines of dialogue.
Yes, completely.
How do you feel like Jacob Elordi is, or however you say his name, is hot, not hot to you? Like, you're over it, you're into it, you don't care, you do care.
Oh, I care, and I'm like embarrassed that I care.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I get it. I get
hot.
it too. I saw Priscilla was the first thing I've seen him in because I haven't watched Euphoria, and I was like, we're talking about men a lot off the bat, first of all, but I totally got it. I thought he was actually quite good as Elvis, and I thought he was good in Saltburn. I think he's good. I think Barry Keoghan, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I like him too. I think he's good. He's weird.
Yeah, I feel like he's in that category of people that are like
ugly, sexy.
Yes, as the bisexual icon Jessica Stein has posited back in the aughts.
No, it's the other one. It's the one that is positing to her, right? Heather Jurgensen. That's the actress. God, I don't even know the character's name.
I don't know either. Also, she's one of the screenwriters, right? They wrote it together.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Kissing Jessica Stein, I don't know if it's worth revisiting. Honestly, maybe we'll watch that tonight. I feel like me and Anne are just bristling with things to watch.
I have to tell you something new that's happened for me, and I think you feel differently. So while we're talking about men, I just need to insert it here.
Oh no.
I hate John Hamm. We were talking about Jennifer Westfeldt and Kissing Jessica Stein. That was my 1-to-1, but it's like, it's new for me because he's from St. Louis, so I should love a hometown boy. You love Mad Men. I liked Mad Men, but I stopped watching after season 2 and I didn't really care. But I think he is like a comedy bro, and watching him in The Morning Show, I thought he was quite good, even though that show is, again, that to me, The Morning Show is good trash. That's like good trash. But not because it's well made, just because it's like enjoyable trash, and it doesn't know it's trash. And I think that Saltburn knows it's trash, and that to me is the difference.
That's kind of how I felt about May December, which you have done.
I still haven't seen, and that's a mistake.
I thought it was like too this is so stupid but smart.
Interesting.
Like too pleased with itself.
Right. Okay. Well, And how do you feel about what's his name, Charles Melton? If we're talking about like hot men of the season.
I think he is hot, and I also thought he was good, but I know that I have had conversations with some of our mutual friends who did not think he was good, but I thought he was good.
Okay.
Sorry if you can hear the intern. She's being forlorn on her new bed, like being like...
I have to say, just in terms of women, I thought Cailly Spaeny, whatever, I think she's excellent in Priscilla. I thought she was so good. We both agree that Lily Gladstone is so good in Killers of the Flower Moon. Who else? We saw American Fiction, and Erika Alexander was transcendent. How good to see her on like a big movie screen. I'm used to seeing her on TV. Living Single was very formative for me as a young person, and it's so good to see her back. Like, I just I would love for her to get a nomination. I would love for her to get any nomination.
Can we also talk about how Leslie Uggams was so good in
Incredible.
American Fiction? I thought she was good. I felt like she had like stuff going on.
Totally. And it was so, I mean, that cast was so stacked. That cast was incredible.
So I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the Golden Globes and Oscar season if we didn't talk about former guest of this show, Da'Vine Joy Randolph, won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress in a Film for her role in Alexander Payne's The Holdovers, which I will say I watched over my own holiday break and quite enjoyed. I was a big fan of Sideways. I don't know that I like a lot. Well, I guess I loved Election. So yeah, maybe I do like Alexander Payne. Yeah. But I also think that he's like a man, and he's like a man who's like celebrated for his weirdness. And, you know, at a certain point when everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid, then I'm
I think
mad.
he also made that movie where Emma Stone was cast as an Asian woman. I can't even...
Oh, I thought that was a Cameron Crowe film.
Oh, maybe it was.
That seems more likely to me that it was Cameron Crowe.
That does seem likely. Maybe I'm like throwing Alexander Payne under the bus. But yeah, I feel the same way, that he's like a Wes Anderson light in terms of just like a quirky white man who makes an indie comedy that is Oscar bait. But I loved Election as a young person, and the casting of Chris Klein to me will always be an important thing in cinematic history. But I haven't seen The Holdovers yet, but I have to say the trailer didn't make me want to see it, but all the buzz around both Paul Giamatti and Da'Vine's performance made me say, like, I will see this film. So it's on deck for me this week.
I don't think Da'Vine is listening, but if she is, you are wonderful. I don't think the movie is like revolutionary in like what it's doing, but I found it very pleasing.
Yeah.
In a different way than Saltburn, obviously. Like Saltburn is like soapy and stupid and sexy and like a music video. The Holdovers is just like rhythmically like does things that is like, oh, this is like warms my heart. And she is another worldly talent. So
I agree.
And we've talked already on this podcast about like when we talked to her, so go look up our episode if you haven't already. She talked about wanting to do either a Pearl Bailey or like maybe a Mahalia Jackson.
I think it was Pearl Bailey because we talked about it and we were both like gobsmacked because Pearl Bailey is very important to both of us.
I would love for them to make a Pearl. We were talking a little bit before we started recording about like who haven't they made like life stories of, and I was like, does every famous person, like very famous person, get a life story, a biopic, whatever you want to call it? Do they get that? And Ian said no, and then we said we were not going to talk about that on the record because we would go on too long about it. But I'm very here for a Pearl Bailey biopic starring Da'Vine with Emma Stone in a supporting role as Carol Channing, because they were like, I don't know if they were real friends or if they were showbiz friends, but
they did that very famous special together where they're both so good.
So good.
Also, I think Da'Vine in Dolomite, My Name is Dolomite, gives one of those performances where you're like, Jesus Christ, who is this person?
Star making.
So good. And the story that she tells in our interview, again, like Damien said, go back and listen to it, was basically Tracy Morgan needed somebody for his show and called up Eddie Murphy to be like, who do I need? I need the supporting actress to like play. She's a social worker in it and is supposed to like help him in.
What is that show called?
The Last OG.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
So he called Eddie Murphy and was like, who do you know? And he was like, honestly, Da'Vine Joy Randolph is like a talent for the ages. She's got the juice. And if you hire her, she will make you better. And he did, and she did. And she's so good in that show. And I do think that she is just like this, as you said, another worldly talent. I'm so happy for her. So I hope we're not jinxing it. All of our Oscar hopes are pinned on Da'Vine. I'm really excited for her. And let us know if you've seen the movie, if you think she's good. I think that I want somebody to give her a starring role.
Completely, yeah.
And I just want to say, again, not to jinx it, but if she is nominated, and if she has, she would be the first potential Oscar winner that we've had on the show, because we have had other Oscar nominees on this show, including Sharayah Aghdashloo, Leslie Ann Warren, and Jo Beth Williams, who was nominated for directing a short.
And Kathleen Turner, who was nominated for Peggy Sue Got Married.
Of course. How could I forget the great Kathleen Turner, whose
How are
apartment
all of those people
we went to?
one-time nominees. Not that that's still an accomplishment. I'm just like thinking out loud. So Kathleen Turner was nominated for Peggy Sue Got Married. I believe that was her only nomination to date. Although I could see her getting another one in her lifetime.
Yeah.
Leslie Ann Warren is her only one for Victor Victoria. Jo Beth won?
Yes, won.
She won nomination, or
no,
she won
one
the
nomination?
award?
No,
it's
one
for
nomination.
directing a short film.
Yeah.
Starring in Ed O'Toole. And then
Sheree, one nomination.
One nomination for House of Sand and Fog. And she's so fucking good in that movie. I revisited, I'm going to bring this back at the end of the show after we let you listen to our great interview this week. But I want to say that Ann and I have this like bit about how we like only talk about the same things. It's like an inside joke about us where like something will come up and it'll be like, it's a lot of actors things, and I think that like that's a part, of course, the impetus for how, or it was sort of the catalyst for how this podcast came to be. But I'll bring that back later. But I just want to say that, why am I talking about this?
You were going to bring it back at the end.
No, I'm going to bring it back at the end of the show. But why?
We were talking about Oscars. Jo Beth Williams, Shreyas Doshlow.
House
of Sand and Fog. They had dirt in the hair. Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah, it's like one of the favorite things about me is that like, and I feel like we've been able to scratch a lot of these itches.
Yes.
Or scratch a lot of these itches.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, these are like weird obsessions we've had or things we talk about ad nauseum, and we're able to satisfy them here. And so yeah, I was obsessed with House of Sand and Fog. Was obsessed with Jennifer Connelly said in her interview with Entertainment Weekly that she like put real dirt in her hair to play like a person, a regular person who's not supposed to be stunningly beautiful, and then got to ask Sheree about it on the show like 12 years later, or no, probably 20 years later, and rewatched that movie and was like, oh, the movie still holds up.
Yeah.
Sheree is still incredible.
Yeah.
And then I got to ask her. Anyway, so I'll bring it back at the end of the show for the outro to talk about the things we always talk about. One more thing I'm going to say about award season, because I am so like hyped on it, is I think Lily Gladstone is so incredible in Killers of the Flower Moon. And I think that it's not really like, it's not a movie that's like my cup of tea, or I should say that's what I went into it thinking, because I was like, I like have a soft spot for Martin Scorsese, but also it's like such a male driven film, and so many of his films are, and I feel like, it's like hard for me sometimes where I'm like, is this a movie about like war or crime and it's all male characters? And the answer to those things are like no-ish, yes, and yes. Mm-hmm. So like it's not really about war, but not about war, honestly, like in a more theoretical way, but it is about crime and it is male focused. Lily Gladstone is so good. And I've just been thinking a lot about the ways women of color are often positioned in like big blockbuster movies. They get these great roles, they blow people away, and then it's like, what does Hollywood do with them, and do they ever get a lead role again?
Correct.
And so I've just been thinking a lot about Lily Gladstone, who I actually believe identifies as non-binary, but is in the Best Actress, like that is how they are being.
Yeah, I think they use she, they.
Yeah, they. That's how she is being like presented in the FYC campaign. I just like hope that her career is huge after this, and I think about that woman from Roma who was nominated a couple years ago, that like indigenous Mexican woman, who like, has she been acted? Like I looked her up recently-ish, but I was like, or about even Gabourey Sidibe, who like does work, but like, has she been a lead in another movie?
Or even like Lupita, who has gotten work, but has not gotten the campaign behind her.
Us is the only like lead role I feel like she has really
and
had.
Us is so underrated. It's incredible.
Her performance alone.
She should have been Oscar nominated for Us.
She should have. I don't remember who else was nominated that year, but she was
so good.
One of my top performances by a woman that year for sure, but probably by a person.
And also she is model beautiful, which shouldn't mean anything, but of course has cachet in Hollywood, and it still doesn't matter. You can be a woman of color and be model beautiful and give an incredible performance and really never get the same push for your career that you did when they were like, here's where you're going to get an Oscar. It's complete bullshit. And so it's the part of me that feels like I'm into the Oscars. I hate the Oscars. And it's that push-pull for me every single year. And as we get older, you're like, all of it's bullshit. It completely is. But of course, I like celebrating women that don't usually get celebrated. That's nice. So I'm hopeful for the women that get nominated this year will be able to reap the benefits of Oscar season, like in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years.
I completely agree. And I also like don't want to perpetuate the issue that I am also saying. So I want to say the woman from Roma's name, which is Yalitza Aparicio. I don't know if I'm saying that 100% correctly, but I remember she was like on the cover of like Vogue, maybe not Vogue, but like some magazine. Yeah. Maybe it was like an international Vogue, and like had this moment and was not Oscar nominated, and she like has some credits. She's 30. Like,
what?
Put her in a movie.
God. Yeah, it's a horrible industry. It's really horrible.
So, yeah, I just like, that's my like piece about Lily Gladstone, who I think does something that I haven't seen. I don't know if I've ever seen that type of performance on film, but also don't know that those types, like a role, it's also about a community that's so underrepresented. And I feel like we have to shout out that Tantu Cardinal plays her mother, who is like a prolific Indigenous Canadian actress.
Yeah.
So she is highly underutilized
and we have been after Tantu for so many years, and like hopefully someday we will be able to land her, because I feel like she has been at the top of our list for so long. She's so good. And I mean, we don't need to get into this, but I do feel like it is also hard, because I love Martin Scorsese, and I say to you, I'm an apologist for him. And I do think like this movie could have been made from the Osage perspective, and it would have changed everything. Is he the right person to make that movie? Probably not. Is he the right person to make this movie where you center the white man who's doing the pillaging, so to speak? I don't know. But I do think the turn that he makes and the responsibility that he takes in putting himself in the film is interesting. I don't know if it validates the choice to make the film, but it's hard because these women are so incredible and giving incredible performances, but they maybe have 62 lines. Lily Gladstone maybe has 62 lines, and Tantu Cardinal has like no lines. I don't know. I feel like
she literally has like 2 lines in English.
Yeah. And it's hard to reconcile that with the industry in terms of like, okay, great. Well, we're going to give you an award for this, but like she is giving an outrageously good performance. And yet, what will the industry do with her moving forward? I hope that she is able to like pave her own way, because I agree. I think she's so talented.
I have to say, we said we were going to be brief today, and I don't know that I don't know that we have been, but I continue to vibe. I just continue to be so grateful for our partnership and our friendship, and that we are able to have these conversations. I'm not patting ourselves on the back for our conversation, but I'm patting ourselves on the back for this podcast existing, and so grateful that we like have made that part of us that just talks about actresses over and over again ad nauseum.
Yeah.
We have made it into a passion project, and I'm so happy we're here this month with Didi Conn. If you are new to the podcast, thank you for joining us. But if you are not, then you know that we are unapologetically Grease fans and Grease apologists, because we understand, we love it for all its flaws. And of course, we love Didi Conn. I don't think she needs any further introduction. She is the bee's knees. So without further ado,
you might know her from Grease,
Grease 2,
You Light Up My Life,
Frida,
Raggedy Ann and Andy, A Musical Adventure,
Benson,
and Shining Time Station.
We are back, and it is a huge day for us at You Might Know Her From, because we are with actor, singer, stage and screen legend Didi Conn. Didi, thank you for being with us on the show. I really can't tell you how much it means to have you here.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm happy to be here. I think you guys are fabulous.
Oh, thank you. We're always on the hunt for the most esoteric credits. We're always digging deep. And so when we were doing our research this week, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but something that just popped up just this week was that the 1980 filming of Stephen Schwartz's musical, The Magic Show, just became available to stream this very week.
Oh.
Did you know that, and have you revisited it since you filmed it?
No, I got chills. They're multiplying. No, that's the wrong show. You know that I had so much fun doing that musical. We filmed it live. Well, we filmed it live for a whole week up in Toronto in a beautiful old theater. And the reason we filmed it with a live audience was so they could have a disclaimer that all the illusions were done in front of an audience. And, you know, it's a tricky movie because I think it came out the same time as I don't know, Close Encounters or Star Wars or something where anything can happen in the movies. So the fact that I levitate, disappear, get cut in 3 places, you know, you think, all right, well, it's a movie. But those things actually happen. In fact, Doug Henning had me come to Las Vegas before we filmed to see him do a lot of his acts that are in the movie. And the reason he wanted me to come, because he wanted me to have, wow, what? How did he do that? What? That sense of awe. So when I was his assistant, even though I'm doing these things, and don't ask me, I signed a waiver, how was that? But I would have that sense of awe. And it was pretty amazing. I mean, he was unbelievable. And it was a great time. And I began a friendship with Stephen Schwartz way back then, and which is still alive and well. So, yeah, no, that's great that it is what it is, but people who love musicals, who love magic, who love Doug Henning, I think they
love Didi Conn.
Oh, well, it was a great part because I was in love with him, and he was like chopping me up and doing all kinds of stuff. But still, he would never notice me, So I had a lot of fun doing that, really a lot of fun. But it didn't do so well in the movies because people didn't really accept the magic as it was happening.
It's funny because Stephen Schwartz has famously said that he was writing the musical around a star who could not sing or dance. What was it like to act opposite someone who really wasn't that kind of performer? That was not his wheelhouse.
Oh, he had style. He didn't sing. He didn't have any songs to sing. And he was used to performing in large venues. So he moved very well. And mainly it was, presenting da-da, da-dee,
right.
da-da, and he, so he was very thin and in good shape and moved around the stage very well.
Well, you can stream the whole thing online now. We're going to link out to it for those who haven't seen it.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, show that illusion. Yeah.
For sure.
Because Doug was famous for it.
Okay, Didi, so you starred as Laurie Robinson in the 1977 film You Light Up My Life, of course, written, produced, and directed by Joseph Brooks. The film's title track won the Oscar for Best Original Song, and you were the lead in this romantic drama about a singer-songwriter who feels sort of stifled and, pressured to follow in her father's footsteps, who he's in the Borscht Belt comedy scene. So this was your first live-action film, and you had to carry the entire movie as a young actor. Did you feel the weight of that at the time?
You want me to be totally honest?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was the worst experience of my life.
Oh, God.
And in shorthand, let's just say it was my hashtag Me Too moment. So it was terrible. And he didn't own the script. And I improvised every line I said in that film.
Oh.
I knew what the character, but it kept changing. And he kept on having liaisons with different actresses and promising them parts, and they would be in the movie just for the day. And I'd say, what does this have to do with anything? And, it didn't. And it was awful. It was awful. And
I'm so sorry. You're so good in it. And I know that I assumed it's related to Joseph Brooks, who obviously things came to light much later in his life, and he met a very grisly end.
I know. Well,
but I didn't know that was your experience.
He was the same guy back then, and I wish I had blown the whistle on him. In fact, I wrote a play. I didn't know at first why I wanted to study boxing, but I just started to have an idea about studying boxing. So I started to take boxing lessons. And I started to write about, I don't know how it evolved exactly, but it ended up in my mind. I was going to get him in the ring and beat the shit out of him, right?
Good for you.
Oh my God.
And may I say shit?
You of course, say whatever you need.
And
yeah. Well, I have a son who's autistic, and it really became about I had to do a reading of it for a fundraiser for a theater, and so they asked me can I do any part of the play? And I really couldn't just pick it out. So I rewrote like an act. And yes, I'm taking boxing lessons. And my coach was the best. He was so strict. You couldn't smile, you couldn't laugh, you couldn't crack a joke. You couldn't do anything. He could, but I couldn't. And it became more about how I had to learn to be strong for my son is what it came out to be. We never got to the Joseph Brooks story at all. which if I continued writing it, could probably be in the act 2. But honestly, this was all before Me Too movement.
Right.
And I have felt such a camaraderie or a relief, a purging of any feelings that I had since it's come out, with all the brave other actresses that have talked and told their story, that I don't feel that need. I don't feel it anymore. I mean, yeah, which is a healing, so.
Yeah, you were able to process that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry that happened, but thank you for sharing with us.
And this is a first. This is a first. This is the first time I've ever talked publicly about it. So there you go.
Well, thank you for sharing that
with us.
And also, just wanted to say, you mentioned that your son is autistic, and that has been a huge piece of the advocacy that you've done in your life and is really beautiful. And I know that that's like one of your main causes.
Yeah. Well, my son is living in like a utopia for young adults and children that have disabilities, because it's called the Center for Discovery. There's a farm. They grow everything they eat. There's nutritionists there. He's been there 10 years. He was in school for the last 3 years of school. And then, because that was a prerequisite, he had to be in their pediatric program to be accepted in their adult program. So that's an extraordinary place. And, there's constant fundraising for them and other organizations that have to do with autism. Autism Speaks had me as celebrity spokesperson. It was so frightening, and so like nobody I knew, or, I have to say, my stepfather was a doctor, thought he's just spoiled. He'd be having fits and throwing himself on the ground, and I couldn't get through to him. And so people had even my own pediatrician didn't see the signs that are so classic very early on.
Yeah.
So it's good to be there for other people, to know you just have to go on Autism Speaks and you can get all the information you want, or the Center for Discovery website. And they even have raised money for a diagnostic hospital. So family, like when we had it so early on, could go there, and they make suggestions of what therapies would work, what medications would work. There was nothing like that back in, talking 30 years ago.
Right. It's incredible.
Yeah. So you want to help bridge that gap of the shock to, being proactive and accepting and doing what you have to do.
Yeah. Okay, Didi. So you were a series regular on the soap spinoff Benson for 3 seasons.
Yes.
You came on as Benson's new secretary, Denise Stevens, in the 3rd season.
Yes.
So whenever we see that someone is on a sitcom, we're always like, is that a pretty sweet gig? And were you like devastated when Denise got her dream job to work at NASA and you got written off, or was it a relief to like be able to have a break from that schedule?
Is that what happened? I got my dream job and I didn't
you started working at NASA.
That's so funny. Well, let me just say, Pete Downey and I, Johnny Phillips, Ethan Phillips and I we're best friends, and we still are.
Oh, I love that.
And we always sign our things, love Denise, love Pete. And we always say, how's little Petey,
The baby.
Well, honestly, I had done a series that Danny Thomas's son, who's also one of the producers of Benson, I had done a series. My first series was called The Practice. And Danny Thomas was a doctor, and I was his receptionist. And that was a great part. I loved that part. And I loved playing with Danny, because every time I would come on right before, he'd say, now we're going to make him laugh, And we always did, right? Because I was so enamored with him. I was like an idiot. I was always screwing up. And so that was what was funny about it. In fact, on that show, just to take a sidebar, that was the first time gay was mentioned on TV, not Ellen. I have to tell you, because Barry Gordon was the president of SAG at the time, and he played a doctor who worked with Danny Thomas, Dr. Bedford, and Dr. Bedford thinks I need a boyfriend because I'm so lonely and I'm just watering plants and talking to plants all day. So he sets up a date. And of course, I fall madly in love with the guy, and he wants to come to my house to tell me something. Well, the audience knows what it is because he's had the scene with Dr. Bedford. I can't go on with this because I'm gay or I'm a homosexual, he says to him.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back to my house, he says, oh, Helen, I think you're so wonderful. Oh, I think you're so wonderful. But I'm also gay. And I say, so am I. I'm happy all the time. And it will go down in my own personal history as the longest laugh that I ever got. And
I love that.
You remember that. So anyway, Tony Thomas called up, would I come to, I had just moved back to New York, okay? And would I come and meet this other producer who had never met me on the show? And I said, oh, yeah, of course, I'll come. But I didn't want to be there. I mean, I always wanted to do theater. And he said, look, the show has been on. This is the 3rd season. This will be the last season. You got to sign for another 3. But, I said, okay, and they kind of led me to believe the part had more to it. I mean, I used to look at it after, a while, like, oh boy, I thought that if you looked at it like a fruit salad, say, I was like not even the lettuce underneath the cottage cheese. This was really kind of like grim. So I was a little frustrated with that, But because I didn't want to be there, my friends who had a house in LA and they had a basement apartment, they said, why don't you just stay with us? Thinking it was only going to be that one season. And one night, I didn't have a TV, nothing. I'm listening to the radio, and this was a beautiful film score, and they were interviewing the composer of it. It was Farewell, My Lovely. And it was beautiful music, and the guy was funny. I said, David Shire, where do I know that? Oh, a couple of years earlier when I was still in LA, my friend Penny, had met him at a benefit and thought we would make a good couple. And she'd call me. I said, no, I'm living with somebody. I'm not going to call him, And then I'm listening to this. I said, oh, I think that's the guy, Penny. So I called Penny. She said, oh, yeah, that's who it is. You want his number? So the next day at Benson in my dressing room, I called up this guy. Now, the star of Farewell, My Lovely was Charlotte Rampling. And David on the radio program mentioned he always had a crush on her. So when I called him, I said, hello, David. I heard you on the radio last night. This is Charlotte. He said, what? Who is this? But I was laughing. I said, it's Dee Didi, I'm Penny's friend. And guess what? In November, that'll be 42 years. So that's my husband. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Honestly, really great move. That you have game, Dee Didi. That was a good bit.
I'm telling you, I never asked anybody out before. I mean, now it's but I never have to do it again. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, Dee Didi. You are the voice of Raggedy Ann in the beloved 1977 Richard Williams animated film Raggedy Ann and Andy, A Musical Adventure. The story goes that you actually had a cold and laryngitis during the recording sessions, and they were like, yes, love it. Let's keep that.
No. It's half true. That's half true.
Okay.
No, what happened was I used to do a lot of commercials in New York.
Yeah.
And I thought I'm going up for like a Raggedy Ann doll commercial. So I didn't even have music with me. I had nothing. And I go into a recording studio, and there was a guy in a piano, and behind me was the booth. Okay. And I said, geez, and there was a microphone here. And he said, well, sing anything. I said, okay, do you know Where is Love from Oliver or whatever? And so I'm thinking, do I know the words? But, I just thought I wasn't nervous, Rain, because I thought it was just a commercial. Yeah. And I singing, and I turned around because I felt something. I turned around. They were jumping up and down. That's it. That's the voice. So then they said to me, we noticed a little gravel in your voice. Can you do it again and sing from that gravelly place? So yeah, I'm just a rag dolly. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So no, I didn't have a cold or anything. I just.
This is why we have to correct the record on the internet. These are crazy YouTube comments that we have to correct.
But it's close. I mean, it's close. You know.
I have to say, I didn't grow up with this movie, but I watched it for this interview and I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. It's basically like Toy Story copied the plot of this film, and it's really great Richard Williams animation. The music is great. Anyway, I really highly recommend people go watch it because I was like, oh, this is incredible.
Well, Joe Raposo wrote a lot of the songs for Sesame Street, and he died very young. So and I want to know something. I think that was my favorite job ever. Because it was, he would conduct us by holding our hands in the booth. I mean, Joe and Richard Williams, the whole team, those were the days when they drew everything. And the animators would be there watching us. So if I went, oh no, in the movie, you see Raggedy pulling her hair, exactly the same emotions facially, So that was really exciting. And what happened was Dick Williams was such a perfectionist that he didn't finish on the time. And I guess he went over budget and they had somebody else finish it. And they really didn't give it. I mean, purists of animation really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But, again, it was something that came and kind of went pretty quickly.
So speaking of Joe Raposo, can I ask a question, which is they then went on to make Raggedy Ann, like adapt it into a famous Broadway musical flop.
Yeah.
Did they try to get you to go to the stage with the show?
No, that was many years later. I think it was when I was doing Benson, actually. It was, we'd have to look at the dates, but I wasn't available then, so yeah, those things have to time out right,
Yeah.
But I did get to be on Broadway. That was very exciting.
Multiple times.
Well, come to think of it. Well, the first time was I was standing by, which was the worst job in the whole world, for Mercedes Ruehl in Lost in Yonkers. Right. But then I got to do it and have my name over the title, the whole business. That was great. What a part. What a play. It's
so good. Did you ever go on as a standby, or no? You only got to go on once you were put into the role.
No. I got on to her vacation. In fact, we opened in Washington, and she was doing Fisher King. So I did the whole first week, which was weird because when you're standing by, you don't get a rehearsal. You get on the set. You get a rehearsal with no props, once a week. So I was in the basement of the theater we were in, just like practicing over and over and over and over again. Yeah, so that was a little bit tough. But I'm glad I got to play it. And there's nothing like a New York audience. And playing it with Irene Worth and Kevin Spacey was in it, and the whole cast was really great. So that was fun.
So probably a lot of our audience knows that you portrayed Stacey Jones in Thomas and the Magic Railroad and Shining Time Station. And your first Mr. Conductor was, of course, Ringo Starr. So at that point in your career, you had done the animated Raggedy Ann. You did 2 seasons of this very cool The Fonz and the Happy Days gang cartoon. What was it about the Thomas show that was the main draw for you to take this gig in children's television? And did you find that you were mobbed by kids when the show was like at its peak in the mid-90s?
Well, the answer to your first question was Ringo. I mean, I grew up with the Beatles. I'm going to work with a Beatle. I mean, you don't take a job on PBS for the money or, for a mug or an umbrella or, maybe a tote bag because they don't pay you, But I honestly, career-wise, it was not a good move. But I got to meet Ringo. I got to know him. I got to see him perform, with his band. And but career-wise, when you start doing children, back then anyway, it wasn't a good career move. But
you feel like it put you in some sort of like pigeonhole or something?
Oh, it definitely did. I did, yeah, definitely. But what's so cool is now I meet a guy who's like, in his late 20s, early 30s, and all of a sudden they say, you Stacey Jones? And they become little boys again. You know, you could tell that they really love Thomas and they watched it, and that makes me happy. I hope some studio head is an old fan. That would be great.
Yeah, it seems like ripe for a reboot. Let's make it happen. This is like what this is doing anyway. Let's make it happen.
Well, you know, they still show the Thomas stories.
Yeah.
But they don't have a Stacey telling them all about it. Yeah. No, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind it this time, you know. It would be easy job. It would be fun.
You're ready to put the hat back on.
Yes. Shining Time Station, Stacey Jones speaking. That's a lot of S. That's right.
What kind of working relationship did you have with Ringo? I mean, you said you saw him perform with his band. You guys were buddies?
No, I wouldn't. I could lie, but no, we weren't buddies. No, in fact, you know, he had to do everything in front of a green screen.
Yeah.
And
it makes sense. I forgot that he's small. Yeah.
And Brian O'Connor, who played Schemer, was fabulous. And Ringo loved that we would be there when he filmed his stuff. But we really, you know, we weren't even giving him the lines. They were using the stuff that we had already recorded. But we were there, you know. He's like an old hippie in those days. He just hanging out.
Yeah.
Oldie station playing in his, you know, dressing room. Yeah, it was cool.
Apparently the show was funded by Amtrak and MTH Electric Trains. Did your role on the show get you a lifetime Amtrak pass or any other railroad related perks?
No, I didn't see
I
didn't see any of that. No. No, at one time there was some children's store. Wasn't Toys R Us, it was some Imaginarium or something like that. It was right before Christmas. They wanted me to make an appearance and sign autographs. And I was at a little table, and this one little boy ran up to me, and he wouldn't leave my side. And the father came up, and it was a long line. I said, "It's okay. He can stay there." And the father said, "You sure you don't mind?" I said, "Oh no, I don't mind." And the little kid was so sweet. He just like stayed like Velcro onto my leg there. And at the very end, he stayed till the very end. The father says, "He just loves you." And I said, "Well, thank you." He said, "No, you don't understand. He wanted to be you for Halloween." You know, oh, okay, good. You know?
So sweet.
Yeah.
So, Didi, how did the subsequent seasons and specials change? Because then once George Carlin joined and then Alec Baldwin came on board, you know, like, how did that change the dynamic for you?
Well, Alec Baldwin didn't come on board until the film. And we did that film on the Isle of Man where the actual Reverend Aubrey, whatever his name is, who wrote the stories, that's where he was writing from. And there was a steam engine there. Yeah. So we filmed there. George Carlin was great. You know, again, we didn't spend that much time with him. He and his wife would be there. I would watch him on a special. I couldn't believe it was the same guy, you know, that was playing. But I think he had grandchildren, and that's why he wanted to do it. You know, once it was popular, PBS would, I guess, fund just for 1 hour specials. We would do one a year. We did that for a long time. And it was fun. It was all done in Toronto. So it'd be fun to take my little Westie and my little baby son and go up there for, a couple of weeks to film. I enjoyed that.
Do you want to rank your conductors for us?
They're so different. But Ringo is Ringo.
Yeah, I mean,
Ringo is Ringo.
Yeah.
So that's all you have to say.
Okay, Didi. Well, the time has come here. So you play Frenchie in one of our favorite, and not really only a movie, but pop culture touchstones, Grease. And you are so good in Grease, and you have this incredible talent of being this great cinematic listener, meaning like you look so beautiful and engaged in every scene, but most especially when you're watching Frankie Avalon sing at you. So we have quite a few sections for you, so please bear with us for this. Up first, what was the audition process like for Grease? What did you sing? What did you have to do?
Oh, well, you had to come looking like the role. That was the main thing. And so I only knew that she was an aspiring beautician. And I mean, as you can see, my hair doesn't really do anything. So I decided I'd go to a beauty parlor and get a big do. And I was driving home from somewhere. I think it was a dance class on a different way in LA. And believe it or not, there was Frenchie's beauty parlor. I had never seen it before. So I thought, I got to go there. So I went, and there was little Frenchie. And I didn't tell her at all, that I was auditioning for something, because I thought this way I can kind of interview her and find out some things about why she wanted to be a beautician and how did she blah, blah, blah. So it was great. And she made this big hairdo on me. And I learned so many things about, I always knew I was going to act, or that was going to be my career. And it was the same thing with her. From very young age, she knew that she was going to be a beautician. And I things about beauty school that I didn't know either, how much you learn about chemistry and how much you learn about psychology and manners and things like that. So then I went to Western costumes, and I got an outfit, a little scarf, a little sweater set, tight pants. And then went to pick up my script at Paramount. And I drove up to the guard's gate, and you tell your name and they give you a script. And there was a whole pile of scripts on his little, it's a little booth on his desk. And he hands me just a skinny little thing. So I open it, and there's one page, and it said, "Men are rats. Worse than that, they're fleas on rats." What? So I said, "Excuse me, sir. No, can I have the script, please?" He said, "This is all I have for you." I said, "Well, what are those big fat envelopes?" You think one of them has the script? He said, "Pull over," because there was a whole line of cars behind me. I pulled over, went around, and he gave me the script. I went under his desk and read up to "Men are rats."
Nice.
So then I see what was going on. I also saw that Rizzo is a better part, but forget about that. So then I went into a small office, and there was Alan Carr and Joel Thurm, the casting guy, and Pat Birch, choreographer, and Randall Kleiser, our director. And I just started, I didn't read anything. I didn't read the part. I just was talking to them about things, and they're laughing. And then we had to go to a sound stage to learn a dance. And once I got to the sound stage, though, there was at least 200 people in there. And there was a stage set up in bleachers, and Kelly Ward, who played Putsy, was the dance captain for Patricia Birch. So he was teaching the stroll, which starts the whole dance contest up. So we're walking this way, and I look around, and everybody's going that way, and I'm going this way. And this kept on happening. So they took a break, and I went up to Kelly. I said, "Kelly, what am I doing? I keep going this way, and I'm looking, everybody's going the other way." I don't know. I never got it right, and I thought, that's it. Meantime, I didn't like this part. They're going around and whispering to people they can go home. They didn't whisper in my ear, I'm still in. Next thing we did, they began to narrow it down, and there were, I don't know, 5, maybe 6 different Frenchies, 6 different, but they would put us with a group. So it would be, the other Pink Ladies, except for Rizzo and the other T-Birds. And we didn't promote. Well, when they put the group that turns out to be the group, we had so much fun. And then we became the group. And we had, at that time, when they got it all the way down like that, Louis St. Louis was the musical director, said, "Come over here. Can you sing?" So he played, I don't know, like Star Spangled Banner, something really easy. And we all were singing, like that. Because, we didn't have to really sing.
Yeah.
Every year, I should know the date, because every single year, and how many now? 45 years, Barry Pearl sends an email out. "This was the day we found out we got Grease. Congratulations." It was in May, yeah. So that's the story.
It's cute.
Yeah.
So, Didi, what is a French inhale? I've tried to do it the first time I smoked a cigarette for the first time. I didn't know how to do it. Did you have to practice? Do you know what it is?
Well, I knew what it was. I didn't smoke. but I had a deviated septum, which I had fixed since then. So now I could breathe out of both nostrils, but then I could only breathe in one nostril. So it worked out good because that when I went like this, it only went up one side, so what wouldn't have been as funny, Yeah, no, so that's it. I had a broken nose. Meanwhile, have you guys seen The Rise of the Pink Ladies? Have you watched it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you watching it?
I watched it.
Did they call you?
They did call. They
Okay.
did call. I was sick when they called. I really was.
Okay.
I had some weirdo thing in my brain, and I was out of commission for several months last year. But I'm fine now. But yeah, I don't know how it happened. I don't know why it happened, but it happened. But anyway, I watched it because I was curious, and I felt like they captured an essence. I think the dancing is superb. I think the dancing, and I can't believe that they learn a show every week, learn that music and learn that, there are some things that if they asked me, I would offer my, but I did write to the creator to tell her that with the parts that I felt that were right on. Well, you think there's a little Frenchie in there.
She's good. I think she captures the essence. I think she does a good job.
When I saw it, I was so impressed with the I would say the soul of it, that I think that they were true to capturing an energy. Storytelling, there's some things that, there was some sexual things that would never have happened in the 50s.
What did you think of little Frenchie?
Oh, a little Frenchie was so cute. She was so cute. It was funny.
I thought they did a good job of capturing the essence.
Yeah, and I thought she would be already fixing Rizzo's hair, or she gets caught in her sister's bedroom. I think she would have gotten caught with her hairbrush or something to do with, already with hair. But that's just me. But it was little Frenchie, so cute.
So, Didi, of the great Hollywood stars that are in the movie, Eve Arden, Joan Blondell, Dodie Goodman, Sid Caesar, Frankie Avalon, who was your favorite?
Oh, I loved being with those people.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to, fill myself in on Sid Caesar. I mean, I knew who he was, but I started to watch a show of shows and I flipped out. And he and John got along so well. It was great. And I got to speak to Eve Arden, and, you're hanging around in between scenes. So I got to hear wonderful stories, and she was such a great lady. But come on, give me a break. Frankie Avalon singing to me, that was the best. That was the highlight. I didn't have to act very much. He was really juicy.
Okay, so Didi, I learned what psoriasis was from Frenchie in Grease. But right before they enter school, Sandy says something like, "I'm no stranger to heartbreak," and Frenchie responds, "Why, you got psoriasis?" What does Frenchie know about psoriasis that we don't? Because at the time I thought...
It was a commercial in the 70s. On TV, the heartbreak of psoriasis. That was a commercial. Yeah.
Thank you for making it make sense. I've been wondering since I was 13 years old.
Yeah, I bet I wonder, if they show old commercials.
You can find. I'm going to look for it now after this
call. The heartbreak of psoriasis. Yeah.
Okay, Didi, we talked to Dinah Manoff about how we read that some of the women cast members were stoned during your big number beauty school dropout and forgot to lip sync during certain moments. Dinah denies this. What do you remember, and did you partake?
No, I never heard that. That's news to me. That's news to me. But I don't... But I mean, that's gutsy because those stairs were really steep. And Frankie Avalon was actually frightened to come down those stairs. He had a little fear of heights. You wouldn't know it in the filming, but yeah. So no, that's pretty gutsy. I would think the guys might have been high because they literally were high, strung up there as angels. But no, I hadn't heard that.
So... Didi, you reprise your role in Grease 2, which here is an underrated gem, absolutely. And the story goes that you initially weren't able to return to the franchise and they were almost going to recast Frenchie. Is that true? And was it as much fun to do the second time around?
Well, what happened was when we were making the film, Saturday Night Fever hadn't come out yet.
And, the first film.
Yeah, first film. And everybody was having such a good time, especially John and Olivia, that it was proposed to the powers that be at Paramount to do a sequel. And in fact, in the scene at the carnival, when they're throwing pies at Sid Caesar, he says, "I'll see you in summer school." Well, that was going to be the title of the movie. That was a setup for a sequel. But Paramount passed. They said, "Oh, this is just a summer film. Nothing's going to come of it." So then Saturday Night Fever came out, and it was such a big hit, and Grease came out. Now they wanted to do a sequel, but John and Olivia were not available. So now there was one promise, which was that I'd have a number. Frenchie'd have a number in it, like, I did in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually filmed a number. We filmed a number where I'm teaching, what's his name?
Maxwell Caulfield?
Maxwell, sorry. I'm teaching Maxwell how to be cool. We filmed the whole thing. My mother was there, which was great. I'm showing him all the moves and everything. And I don't know if they had film in the camera because I never saw it. And then they filmed their promise that I would be. They never said they're going to put a number in the film. They said, "We'll film a number." So we did do that. But so that was a little disappointing that wasn't.
I have never heard that before. That is so wild to me.
Yeah, and I don't know. Reason I think there wasn't film in the cameras because why wouldn't they put that on as an extra thing?
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway. I had fun. I was doing Benson at the time. It was a week off. I did it all, I think in 1 week, and that was the week that I met my husband. That was all that week. That I was coming from a rehearsal when I picked him up for his date.
It's a good week then. It's a good week.
It was a good week.
Didi, you and Barry Pearl were the only stars to return for Fox Live telecast in 2016, where you play Vi, the diner waitress. Yeah. And when Carly Rae Jepsen's Frenchie leaves the diner, you sort of turn off the light switch using your elbow, and the lights go out, but you're nowhere near the light switch, which is a nod, obviously, to the way that Joan Blondell did it in the original film. Was that your choice, or did they tell you to do that as an Easter egg to the super fans?
No, that was my choice. A lot of people don't notice that at first, unless you're a real big fan. You don't know that she did that. Yeah, no, that was
awesome.
Yeah. So I'm glad. Thomas Cailly thought that was really funny. But you want to know, the first take we did, I forgot to do it. So,
it's a good bit. You got it.
But in rehearsal, not when we were actually filming live, then I remembered. But that was quite an experience. The first time I saw my dear little Frenchie, Carly Rae, I started to cry. And she started to cry. And I was crying for a different reason. I thought she was like the daughter I never had or something,
That's
She's
really
so
cute.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But it was great. I thought, unbelievable that they did that live. Unfrickin' real. Everybody, not just the cast, but how the crew moved around and how they cut it. And they did a great, great job. It
was really good.
I was happy to be a part of it. Yeah.
Okay, Didi, we're going to get you out of here in just a second.
Okay.
This is the rapid fire. It's we're going to go as fast as we can to get through all the last things that we have, and then we're going to get you out of here.
Okay, darling.
Didi Conn, we've long been invested in your journey on the UK reality show Skating with the Stars. One of the judges, we will not even dignify him with a name, had horrible commentary about you dining out for years on the song We Go Together. And the audience boos, and you're like...
Not really.
So, a few quick questions. A, We Go Together isn't even Frenchie's number. What the fuck is wrong with him? B, you said you got mustard on that pink lady's jacket. How did it happen? And C, would you ever do a reality show again?
Well... they made me an offer I could have refused. It was a lot of money. I had a fabulous coach, was wonderful, Tash. He is fabulous, and that's the reason I did it for the money and him because it was great. And that particular judge, that was his thing, to put people down. So I didn't take it personally at all. That was he went a little too far, and then he didn't come back the next year. So not with me.
The audience was not on his side.
Yeah, it was, it's like you look for that, but I didn't take it personally. I knew he was looking for something to say. Yeah. Oh, and what was the last part of that? What did I get?
Would you do reality again?
Would I do reality? I don't know. It would all depend. I would not do ice skating again. I couldn't. But it would all depend on what it was and where the money could go. I wouldn't say no to anything until I say no to it.
All right, Didi, we're taking it home here, almost there. Okay, we're both gay, and we love to project gayness onto everything we watch. We asked this of your co-star Dinah Manoff as well, but a few years ago, we noticed that Alice Ghostly, as shop teacher Mrs. Murdoch, she shows up dancing in the background with the T-Birds in Grease Lightning. So we have invented this whole backstory where Mrs. Murdoch was gay. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. I don't know, because, in The Rise of the Pink Ladies, one of the Pink Ladies is gay.
I know.
So you had that thought before you even saw The Rise of the Pink Ladies. So
just look for Alice's Ghostly's hip work in the background. It will make you think differently.
It's very possible. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. I'll ask Barry Pearl. He knows everything.
Okay. Okay, Didi, you worked with Julie Taymor in the stage production of The Green Bird, and then you briefly appeared in her 2002 film Frida when you served Salma Hayek and famous bisexual Saffron Burrows after they had sex. Yeah. Okay. Did you develop a backstory for your waitress, or did Julie just give you a call the night before and you went in and did like a 1-2 punch?
Oh, no. I was I was in Mexico City with them for a week, and I have the menu and the sign that they made. It said Didi's Diner. Yeah, I mean, she did a whole big thing. And yes, I did have a whole story. I don't remember it now, but I did make up a whole thing. And I noticed that their feet were entwined underneath the thing. And I had a whole thing, but you couldn't. I mean, that wasn't the part that, it was more about their story.
But it was really such a pleasure to see you in that moment. It's really great.
Yeah, I'm in Across the Universe too, just very briefly.
Oh, I love.
Yeah. So no, she's a dear old friend. Yeah,
I love it.
Didi Conn, last question. You played an environmental activist on a season 6 episode of Cagney and Lacey, where you got booked by Sharon Gless and Tyne Daly. At what point they lift you off of the ground and carry you out the door. So who do you think had more upper body strength, Sharon or Tyne?
Oh my God! You sure that was me?
1,000% it was you. Yeah, I went back and watched the whole episode. Wow. You get thrown in prison because you there's all this, there's some toxic waste that they're putting in toys or something, and you're so mad. You're an environmental activist, so you do a sit-in and you make a big scene, and then you get arrested.
Holy cow. All right. Who was strong? Well, they both were strong. So Sharon was strong. I mean, I'm thinking about them both. They were probably equally strong.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely equally. Yeah. I don't remember this at all.
Didi Conn, thank you for humoring us and being with us this afternoon. This has been such an insane pleasure for us.
Oh, so lovely to meet you both. And it's great that you're doing what you're doing. So keep it up. And Grease is still the word. And a wop babaloo mop. A wop bam. Boom. There you go. Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
I so appreciated Didi talking about her experience filming You Light Up My Life. I really appreciated her vulnerability.
And also, I'm sorry if you don't know the story of Joseph Brooks, which we didn't feel the need to go into in the interview because Didi lived through it. Please check the Wikipedia. He is a horrible person that met a terrible end.
Grisly, as you said.
Grisly, right. And I actually saw the Broadway musical that he wrote, starred In My Life. He also wrote the I'm a Pepper, You're a Pepper song.
So this is the thing, honestly, that I was going to say is one of the things on the list that we always talk about is Anne will constantly...
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, Anne always talks about I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. And I'm always I don't know what you're talking about. She's that song?
my God, I didn't realize this was the callback. Yes, it's one of the worst Broadway shows I've ever seen in my life. It was like some sort of like...
She's got 7 stories, folks, and one of them is
one
On
of
the Pepper,
them
Your
is...
Pepper. It was like...
he wrote this musical, but it was like a jukebox musical of Joseph Brooks songs, which he wrote You Light Up My Life, the song, and also the Dr. Pepper theme song, I'm a Pepper, You're a Pepper, like whatever, the commercial jingle. He incorporated both of those things into a musical about some sort of like ghost vampire angel that rode a razor scooter. It was one of the, and like the lead character, I think, was autistic, and it was one of the wildest 90 minutes I've ever spent on a Broadway stage, and I think it was open for like 2 weeks and bombed. It was great, but I didn't know that Joseph Brooks was notoriously horrible until he killed himself later. Is this horrible to say? Like, I read the news and then I was like, oh my God. And then when I learned about You Light Up My Life from Talia Balsam, who mentioned it in our interview with her
we both
back
were like,
in season
Patty,
1.
We were like, Patty, not Patty Duke, Patty Pat, what is her name?
Pat Boone.
Pat Boone, and she was like, no, that's the pop song,
right?
Which it is in the movie, right?
I think so. Yeah, Pat Boone sings a song, but then they made this TV movie starring Didi Conn, which Talia Balsam introduced us to. So I feel like we've had these full circle moments, and now I'm once again bringing you back to Joseph Brooks. But I feel like neither one of us was expecting to have what felt like a very real moment where Didi Conn was like, I've never said this on the record. That was the worst experience professionally of my entire life. It's like, God, the stories that these women have to tell about the fucking horrors of this industry. And he's just a small blip, Joseph Brooks. Please check out the Wikipedia.
Also, love talking to Didi about The Rise of the Pink Ladies, which sadly has been wiped clean from Paramount Plus. One of my nieces, my niece Summer, and I were both really into it. I never finished it, unfortunately. But the like hot, like lead, like Danny Zuko sort of like proxy was, I guess, like left in the middle of the show or was fired or quit, and like they like CGI'd his face onto. I wanted to give that Easter egg to everybody. You can find the clip onto, and we'll link out to it in the show notes. But it is incredible.
Also, during the actor strike, we did our Norma Rae episode, and then I remembered that David Shire, of course, Didi Conn's husband, wrote the like main credit, like title theme for Norma Rae. And I love that song, and Patti LuPone sang it in her club act. It's like one of my favorite things. So I feel like there were so many interconnected moments for us as we re-listened to this, because we recorded this over the summer pre-strike and we were hoping to release it then. But of course, then we got stymied. So having Didi Conn on Zoom with Damien and I just feels like a kiss on the envelope that we seal of our friendship. I don't know. It really is sort of a very surreal moment. And the fact that she sings while she talks in an interview to me is so old Hollywood. And I know that Didi Conn isn't really old Hollywood. You know, she was a star in the 70s. She was a star in the 70s. You know, it's not like it's the 1930s. But, you know, I miss the fact that when you interviewed actors.
She did it twice that I can think of, right? Yep. She said the beginning when we were talking about Magic Show, and she was like, oh, I have chills. And then she was like, they're multiplying. And she's like, wrong show. And then at the end,
a wop babaloo wop.
Wop bamboo. I almost like cried. I felt like it's like she is also like
she gets it. She gets it.
She gets it, and she so proudly champions Grease and its legacy still, which I love.
But she's also like called Barry Pearl. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I don't remember. And also she said shit on the record. And to me, having Didi Conn say shit to us in a Brooklyn accent, just like oof, icing on the cake.
Also, this is a great callback, if you will, but we talked about You Light Up My Life because of Talia Balsam.
Yeah.
And that was then when we talked about, like, what is Didi Conn up to? And she was on Skating with the Stars. And so then we found that clip where she got judged by that one, like, the Simon Cowell of the ice skating judges. And we got to bring that to her. And, like, I just, like, can't get over it still. Like, don't do it, Anne.
You've been dining out on this for 40 years.
She's like, not really.
Not really. I didn't see a penny. Speaking of Penny, we didn't even ask this in the moment when I listened back to the interview. She's like, my friend Penny. Her friend is Penny Marshall. It's got to be Penny Marshall. I'm like, I don't know why I didn't ask her that.
Wait, when did she say
She's
Penny
like,
Marshall?
my friend Penny told me about this guy David and blah, 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 but he was dating somebody else. But like, if we remember, Didi Conn was on the Fonz and the Happy Days gang cartoon. And I feel like she has another connection to Penny Marshall. So I'm like, I bet your friend Penny is Penny Marshall. And it makes sense to me that they would be friends.
It's so cool. And like, you know, she also was like, she's like friends with Steven Schwartz, because then she was also in like the working, it wasn't really like the traditional musical, but it was like vignettes from like working the musical that
and
were
they made it into like
PBS and like their buddies. But then she's also with Julie Taymor because she was like in one of the shows. I don't know if
the Green Bird. I think.
Yeah, on Broadway, but then also was in not only Frida, which we talked about, but also across the universe. I think she's like has like a.
I need them to put Didi Conn back on stage. Maybe she's over it. Maybe she doesn't want to come back and do a show on Broadway. But I feel like she has all the right connections. She's not the right type to play Madame Morrible.
Why
but
not,
like,
though? Like
right?
she can play against type,
right? I think
if you're listening and you produce Wicked or work with the people that produce Wicked, think about Didi Conn.
Yeah, let's bring her back.
I also found her candor talking about like being a standby for Mercedes Ruehl.
Oh yeah, she was like, "That's horrible." She was like, "That was horrible."
Yeah, I thought it was really like honest. I just love her so much. And I think as we're closing out this episode and talking about Barry Pearl and how he is the keeper of all secrets, we really should talk to him, and we should talk to him for our Patreon. Which, yes, we said it's coming in January. It is still coming. It is forthcoming. And so those of you that are asking, thank you for following up and being supportive.
Yeah.
It is to come. And so you will be the first to know. So thank you.
And if you want to keep on track with everything that's happening with Damien and I, make sure you're following us on social media at Damien Bellino and at Rodaman on all mediums. That's RODEMANNE. And please spell my best friend Damien's name right. It's Damien with an A. Dear God. Also, you can follow You Might Know Her From on TikTok and Instagram. Make sure that you find us there.
You Might Know Her From is produced by us. That's Ann Rodaman and Damien Bellino. We also want to thank our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment. That is Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears. And all of that editing you hear is by the wonderful Daniel Sears.
As always, a beautiful thank you to Gang. All the music that you hear on each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is courtesy of Gang. Gang is Philadelphia-based. They are 3/4 women. You can download or stream their music wherever you listen to your tunes. And if you need to see clips from the Raggedy Ann and Andy musical adventure, it's fucking good as hell. It changed my life. What else? If you need to see a clip from In My Life, if you need the Wikipedia to Joseph Brooks, I put it all in the show notes. I spent a lot of, I guess some people might call it sad, but I feel it's fruitful. I'm going to call it fruitful. It's me archiving each and everything that Damien and I discuss on this podcast because it's important to us. Find it in the show notes. It's at the bottom of each episode description on the podcast app. So Damien, it's a new year. Did you make any resolutions? Are you a person that does that? I feel like I kind of know, and we haven't really discussed it.
I'm a little woo-woo.
Yeah.
It's like a thing that like, and I feel like you have a little bit of it, but you're like too ironic to get on board, and I am more like subscribed. I'm more You're more crystal based. Yeah, I'm like what is the word I'm looking for? Like I'm just like more susceptible to things like believing them. There's a word I'm looking for.
Gullible?
Yeah, but that's not really
I think susceptible is right. Or you're flexible. You are, I don't know.
Impressionable. That's
impressionable.
Yeah, like I feel like I'll see something on TikTok now and be like, oh, I'll try it.
Sure.
So it's so funny that you asked because it is now like we're well into the year and I haven't really made any proper resolutions. And it's always just like, hang my coat up, put clothes away, like go to the gym more, cook more at home, things like that. But on the 11th, which was just a couple days ago, I was on TikTok on my way home and it said like, if you're seeing this and it's January 11th, then just know like it's a new moon tonight and it's going to be like 111, like something. And it was like all these reasons why you should write on a piece of paper 11 things that you want in this new year and then 11 sacrifices you're willing to make in order to make those things happen. Meaning, if one of your goals is like, I want my body to be high and tight, then like, and that's your goal of number one, then number one sacrifice would be like, and I'm going to sacrifice like 3 to 4 days where I will commit to doing whatever.
Right.
So I was like, I should do that. And so, of course, it was like 10 p.m. and I still hadn't did it, but I did do it. I said, Dear Universe, and I wrote 11 goals and 11 sacrifices, and I said, love Damien, and I rolled it up and I put it under my pillow with, I don't have a lot of like crystals, but I do have tourmaline, which is supposed to be good if you put it under your pillow for sleep.
It's the Carly Simon crystal.
I learned that from, no, that's Gamerline. But I did learn about tourmaline from Jatavia Gary, who is a former colleague from college, who then we went to see at her exhibit at the MoMA recently. I saw that she posted about it like in the last couple years, and I was like, bought myself like a bundle of tourmaline and put it under my pillow to sleep sometimes. So I put that with my note, and it's been under my pillow for the last few days.
Okay, You're inspiring me to be more woo-woo. Are you willing to share one of the 11 or no, that jinxes all of it? Because I'm firmly a believer that I do believe in jinxing things. That's why I didn't want to talk about Davine too much, because I don't like jinxing.
One of my goals, and I think I believe it enough and also don't, so I'm fine to share. One of my goals was that I want to make money and bring joy from doing You Might Know Her From. Ooh,
on that note, I'm sending the sound of crystals into the universe. Ooh,